You absolutely are an OG. And I've never been able to ask a true OG this. You had a jet, you were flying around, filling rooms, but how would you fill those rooms? Like, what was the marketing strategy back then? There were no Facebook ads, there was no viral TikToks to say, click my link in my bio.
I'm willing to pay a lot of money for great mentors. I expect a lot of my mentors. I would do affiliations with all of the greats. Can you imagine if you had 200, 300, 400 people, just a small group of accredited investors who want to learn these, do deals together, and just jam together? Like, I want to lead that community. So I would go speak, say, for Harvard, right? And we did almost $1 million in 90 minutes. Well, I remember Bob Proctor saying, Loral, why are you letting people follow you around to Oklahoma and all these places for free? So I built a community, which is sort of a fun little goal. And now 10,000 millionaires later, all over the world, it works. And the principles work, the strategies work.
Marketing is about values.
Nike didn't call me and sell me this in a catalog. I bought this swoosh because it's ingrained in my soul.
When you have a product that really resonates with customers, the word of mouth grows like wildfire.
Welcome to the Marketing Max Show. Now, let's dive in.
Welcome to another episode of the Marketing Max Show. I have an amazing guest today who really grew her personal brand during the pandemic and has become known as the Millionare Maker. So I'm really excited to kind of unpack how she grew her personal brand, the marketing strategies behind it, and then also unpack the actual strategies themselves, because I don't think she would have grown to have this massive audience that she's had if the strategies themselves didn't work. So Loral, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us who you are?
Absolutely. So I've been actually the Millionaire Maker since 2005-06 is when I was given the brand title. We come back to how that all happened. But my quick 1-minute story: grew up on a farm in Nebraska, didn't know anything about money, business. Grew up with two entrepreneurs, farmer and caterer, but they didn't talk like entrepreneurs, not like we do. And digital marketing was not such thing. So my first degree was finance, did that for like literally 1 minute. So I'm not going to do a job. That's not my thing. I'm an entrepreneur. So I went back to school, got a master's in exercise physiology, spent my first, chapter of my career working with a lot of blue collar companies, specifically Chevron. We did 272 fitness centers on offshore oil rigs. Wow. So lived and breathed a little bit for a minute in corporate America. Met Bob Proctor through. I'm a huge fan of mentoring. Been mentored since I was 17 as well. I've owned lots of companies, over 100 companies, over 1,000 real estate transactions. But in 1996 is when Bob said, hey, there's going to be a new team on in the space. Robert Kiyosaki, Sharon Lechter, becoming the Rich Dad Poor Dad brand. And I said, really? I'm going to go follow a Japanese guy in a game around and jump out of this big Chevron executive position. He said, you said you want to transition. So I said, yes, figured it out, became the master distributor of the cash flow game. So I went from the health world, jumped back into the world that I really had a passion for, why it's so difficult for people to figure this out. This is not difficult. It's a formula. There's a blueprint. And here's what I really found out, Max. No one's willing to disclose and talk about it. So then I jumped 1996, 99, became a millionaire in real estate. Later, 99, became a millionaire in gas and oil. And I've hit 8 industries as a millionaire. And left it all in 2000, 2001, started my own mentoring mastermind. McGraw-Hill found me and said, hey, would you write a book about how you make millionaires? And I'm like, they follow me around. I don't know. They follow me. I'm going to Oklahoma. If you would like to meet me in Norman, Oklahoma, I'll do a real estate tour. I'll show you what I buy. And if you want to partner together, we'll buy a bunch together. And it just happened. And so anyway, a focus by Barnes & Noble gave me the title. This was going to be about how women estate millionaires. It was really real estate centric in the beginning. And then Barnes & Noble did a focus group and said, oh, no. She's way too broad. Make her the Millionaire Maker. I said, oh, I'll take that title. So it's kind of a fun ride. And then since then, I've got 6 New York Times, 6 bestsellers. How I Made My Kids Millionaires was my latest one. Did it as a single mom. So wow, a lot. So I love the space. I love helping people, and blessed with the gift of money like you are with marketing.
So in 2001, I think you said it was McGraw-Hill that approached you and said, I want to write this book, or we want to write this book with you. And then it was a Barnes & Noble focus group that gave you the title. Yeah. That's amazing. People ask me all the time where the name Marketing Max came from, and I didn't get it from a focus group. Although if I used a focus group, I probably would have a better name. I just came up with it after seeing another person on Twitter this amazing woman influencer, Social Savannah, in the marketing space, and I was like, that's a cool like SS. I wonder what I could put in front of Max. And at the time, my whole thing was advertising. I ran an ad agency, and if we're going to talk about Millionaire and all that stuff, that's what made me a millionaire is ads, running ads for people and running ads for my own business. And I would consult with people outside of ads and all things marketing. And I said, oh, Marketing Max works pretty well. And I changed my name on Twitter from my personal name to Marketing Max. And from there, I just started getting followers left and right. People love these names, these things that you can kind of attach onto or bucket someone in.
Yeah. So in 2001, I just kind of declared, making millionaires. And then it was actually 2005-06 was the focus group. And this came out. This was a like completely organic January 21st at around noon. My publisher called and said, you hit the New York Times #1, Wall Street #1. So it's like, oh, awesome. So here we go. And then right after The Secret came out. And I was in The Secret. So it's just, and then I became Dr. Phil's money expert. So, I was 100% stage and TV. Like I had done very little online. I don't even know that I had a store to sell my books on. I mean, I think I was just, if you want to see me, you want my stuff, you got to come meet me out on the road. I'll be somewhere. And I had speaking engagements 2 or 3 times a week. I bought a private plane in 2007, started that life. So you can get around really fast. You can do 3 shows a day. You can go to LA, San Diego, and Phoenix and be done late at night. I mean, you can kind of jam in those days. So then COVID hit, and that was an exciting just slap going, now what do we do?
I've heard so many stories about what I would call like the OGs. I think I'd classify you as the OGs, the people who would go around, rent ballrooms in hotels and host lectures and do that whole 9 yards. I've never been able to ask an OG this.
What's an OG?
Well, I think the actual term stands for original gangster, like the original gangster.
I was clearly an OG.
Yeah. But it's a term I guess we use to just describe someone that's like been in the game a long time. That's like really legit. They're just they kind of pioneered this, and so you absolutely are an OG. And I've never been able to ask a true OG this. You had a jet. You were flying around. You were like filling rooms, teaching people these money tricks, which we'll unpack soon. But how would you fill those rooms? Like, what was the marketing strategy back then? There were no Facebook ads. There was no viral TikToks to say, click my link in my bio to book a time with me. I'm coming to San Diego. Like, how would you fill those rooms back then? I'm genuinely like super curious to know.
No, I'm serious. So I became an affiliate of all. It's also part of my, my skyrocketing so soon and early in my career is I'm willing to pay a lot of money for great mentors. I expect a lot of my mentors. And I always say a mentor always gave me 3 things. And I always came with 3 asks. I want your Rolodex. You're not going to like hand it to me. I get it. But when I need something, I want an introduction, i.e. Bob Proctor introduced me to Kiyosaki and Sharon Lechter. He also introduced me to John DeMartini. I mean, and then so you learn how to really, really network. So I expect a pretty open Rolodex. I want avoid every costly error. You see me running into a wall, you better not let me like walk into it and get bruised. Like as fast as you can correct me. I don't care how harsh the correction is. I don't care if I hit you because you pissed me off. Like I want correction immediately so I don't have costly errors. And I want every speedy strategy. That's why I always call them. I want speed to the top. And I don't want all these learning curves. I don't want to go left and then right and then back down. I don't want that. I want a rocket ship. I want you to tell me what to do. I will do it. And I think that's the big part. I look at my mentees and, I've been mentoring and masterminding now since 2001. It's called The Big Table. It's my pinnacle. I mean, it's the longest standing one in the world, actually. No one started in 2001 that still has massive sustainability. So I built a community, which is sort of a fun little goal, Max. I was literally in Oklahoma, became a millionaire in 1999. Norman, Oklahoma is my millionaire market. And I thought, I'll never forget. I thought, can you imagine if you had 200, 300, 400 people, just a small group of accredited investors who want to learn these, do deals together and just jam together? Like I want to lead that community. And that was the table. And now 10,000 millionaires later, all over the world. It works and the principles work, the strategies work. But how I filled the room, to answer your question specifically, is I would do affiliations with all of the greats. So I would speak on their room first as a stage, and it's a 50-50. I saw the what's it, the speaker association, whole thing of getting paid.
Yeah.
dollars or 10,000. I'm like, if I can sell $100,000 in an hour, why wouldn't I share 50-50, then try to have somebody come up with 50,000 and pay me? Why don't I just learn to do the best offer from the stage? So I became, and I still have statistically the biggest track record in the world as a woman. So I became sales. Like I knew how to sell my offer, my offer fulfilled. I sold this thing called 3 days to cash. So I would go speak, say, for Harv Eker, right? And we did almost $1 million in 90 minutes. So I would sell $1,000 package, say, to come see me for 3 days in other people's rooms. And so I would do that most of the time. So I would have to do probably, I mean, actually used to have the statistics. I would have to do between 3 to 5, maybe 6 small shows in that market with somebody else's endorsement, affiliate endorsement. They got 50 of the small sale. I took 50. This is all, I'm talking every hack in the world. I'm not holding anything back. I'm telling you exactly how most people won't tell you the truth of how it got done. We would all let each other go to each other's stages, and we'd share 50-50 for those who could sell. And we'd make those who didn't know how to sell pay us to sponsor. Like, why am I going to let you take a stage to waste my audience when you, A, can't sell, and then you don't fulfill very well? So I really made sure the people I aligned with had, like Harv Eker had great fulfillment. I mean, he loved the Millionaire Mind. We came out 2 months apart. I did Millionaire Maker. He did Millionaire Mind. So we run together. It was phenomenal. So, but how we did it, we took little people. I would go to chambers. I would go to BNI meetings. Like, I don't care where I went. I on little stages selling little things to put a big room together. And then the other thing I did with a really abundant model is once you saw me once, you come back as many times as you want. So I never limited how many times people in like the LA area could come see me in the small show. And then the small show, I sold my big table since 2001. And that's my higher ticket. And that ticket started high because I am the OG of high ticket sales. I started in 2001. I thought, well, I remember Bob Proctor saying, Loral, why are you letting people follow you around to Oklahoma and all these places for free? Like, charge them $5,000. I'm like, Max is going to pay me $5,000. I thought it was hysterical. I literally died laughing. Like, this guy could pay me. So I was a chicken. So I would charge like $2,500 because I thought, okay, that's a big step up. So in the old days, I wasn't even charging for people to follow me around. And then I thought, okay, there's this coaching mentoring thing. I'm just going to call myself a mentor and a coach. And then I started my big table at 5,000. And then other people started following the model, and they were charging 10. And I'm like, I do better work. We do better fulfillment. I'm going to 10. And now, but I stopped at 25. Between 25 and 40 is my stopping point. Because if people have more money than that, Max, I want them to invest. I want them to go buy some real estate. I don't need that much tuition to do my jam. I love what I do. I'm the best at it, and not arrogantly. I'm so beyond any ego stuff about that. Like, I just love helping people. Like, I've just been blessed to figure out the formula, figure out the blueprint. I have a lot of evidence to making millionaires, and it's been fun. But I'll tell you, filling rooms in those days, you don't get to stop. Like, it's got to go. You got to go. You got to go. So to your point, you just get used to it, because I go out on the road now once, and I come home and I'm dead. And I'm like, how the heck did I ever do 3 or 4 shows a week? Like, I had to have some insane thing going on that I was just willing to jump on a plane and take my kids with me. We just go. Anyway.
So much coffee. I'm not surprised to hear that back then, people would follow you around multiple times. Or I think that stat where you said like someone needed to come to 3 or 5 shows in one city before they purchased. That's something I talk about a lot. Is frequency, right? People need to see or hear your brand or understand your angle, your pitch, your strategy, your concept, right? They need to understand it 3, 4, 5 times, if not more, before they even decide if they're going to purchase or not. But I'd love to unpack like the 2 main aspects of this business model. I have so many questions, like genuinely just out of curiosity, and I know you love mentoring, so forgive me if any of this is selfish.
No, I love it.
But
You're totally good.
Like getting on the first stage, right, has to be the hardest part. So, for example, I held my first event in February. Yes. I held my first event in February, and I've done speaking events. I've done, I guess, the low way of making money, to your point, which is like people pay me, whatever, to hop on a stage and give an hour presentation. But I held my first event this February, and it was amazing. I absolutely loved it. People walked up afterwards and were like, can I pay you for consulting? Can I pay you for mentorship? This is amazing. I loved everything you had to say. And my buddy, who also spoke at the event, said, we should just go on tour. Like, we should just take this on the road and we'll give the same presentation and we'll have a more clear offer at the end, and more clear, like, if you want to unlock XYZ, come talk to us about this. It's less expensive than you think, whatever. So my first question is, totally makes sense to get on your first stage, right? Like, once you get on the first one, if you're good, because you're doing the 50-50 rev share, people are going to invite you because they want your 50 and then you want their 50. But number one, how do you get on the first stage? Like, if you're someone just starting out in 2024, how would you do that? And then two, like you said, all the tricks, all the secrets in the book you revealed, but, you know, give us like one or two nuggets of how to actually close at the end of those presentations. Like, I listened to this podcast with Cardone a few weeks ago, and he was talking about, you know, making, you know, 30 million a day, 40 million a day, pitching these things. And I was like, I need to fly to go to one of his events just to see it in action and just tell all the salespeople that walk up to me, because they walk through the whole strategy, but the salespeople that walk up, I just need to go see like how they do it and just tell all the salespeople, I'm not buying. I just want to see this all in action.
Yeah. Well,
those are my two questions.
Here's the thing I'll tell you though, is they'll have you buy smaller stuff to get to the bigger stuff. And if you don't go there, there's no reveal of the next. So I'll just reveal it all. How about that? So when Grant says he makes 30-40, remember, he does like a sales process, and he does know how to do that very well. He also has Cardone Capital, which is also sponsored by massive REITs in New York. I mean, he's got a big capital firm behind him. Like, I have individuals and private people behind me. I'm not a big firm sponsor. I just chose not to do that. I mean, he and I both similar offers in similar parts of our career. But when we say, or they say, whoever, whether it's him or I'm going to even I'll put real estate guys in there, right? I'll put Ron the Great, Lance Edwards in there. I'll put the big real estate guys I really like. I mean, they're talking about offers on contracts, on properties, on notes, on real estate notes. Like, they lined up. Max has 100,000. He's going to put to work in the next year, and they counted the 100 as revenue or potential investment to, say, like Cardone Capital, right?
Got it.
So you're stacking up big tickets who aren't in the bank today, but they're going to be coming in his, because he's more of an investment train now, right? Because he's got all sorts of different offers on investment deals. So that's the bigger game plays. So back to how do you get on the first stage? Great affiliations. So one of the strategy I've done, because I've actually made a lot of this next generation by this one strategy. So, I didn't know I was going to be, it's like the Loral Revealed show. Here's what I did. Just like some young guys that were, 3 were guys and 2 were women that I was mentoring, and they were ready for the stage, but they weren't quite ready. So I'm going to do 2 things. How do you get on a stage, and then your biggest mistake on a stage? And everyone makes the biggest mistake on the stage the first time. And it's like clockwork. I watch it because I did it. That's why I know it's like clockwork. So how you get on it is what I told them is you can have 5 minutes or 10 minutes, depending on how much they were paying me to mentor, right? The level of client they were. That clearly mattered, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I was a very, very high paid client with Rob, and he put me on stages because by 6 figures, I mean, I earned some spot. So he'd at least invest me 5-10 minutes. So I'll do that for a lot of my higher end clients. But the big ones, if you want more time, then help me fill my room. So I put them in the very situation they're wanting to learn, and I make it homework. And I say, so for every 10 people, you get 2 more minutes. So like this one guy, he put 60 people in front of me, earned himself 30 plus the 10, he earned himself a 40-minute spot. And then I had to go to work. So I use them to help you, because I also don't want to teach people all these hacks. I mean, it's just a waste of time if you're not going to implement them.
Yeah.
So, well, if you can't find 10 freaking people in your town to come watch me, who has a big name and brand, and I have no ego about it, but if you can't figure out how to bring 10 buddies along for free, watch me and maybe buy from me, you can't do this. Because you can't figure out 10 of your own friends that want to come with you anywhere. So I kind of made it a fun, like filling a room's a pain in the butt, right? It's the hardest, it's one of the hardest jobs you got. So that's that. But then when you close, the biggest mistakes I see is you overeducate, because you're scared to death of the close. You've never closed publicly and like on a stage, and depending how many people. And I always tell my beginners, do not take big stages. Don't start on big stages, because if you blow it, you're not getting another chance, because we all talk, us OGs. Oh, you don't think we're like Rolodex to Rolodex? Saying as somebody new, like that's how we pass the next best people around, is we are all kind of helping them get to the next best people. So if you blow it on a big stage, I mean, you've just like hung yourself out of it's a long walk to dry out and figure that out to get back in the water again. Like it's a long walk. So don't overeducate, because what's going to happen, but that's what they tend to do. They get scared of the sale. They know the wind up at the end and they have to give their offers coming. And they're like, woo, all of a sudden they're sweaty. It's like, oh my God, I'm going to die.
People are going to judge me for trying to sell them something that they actually need and will happily pay for and get a lot of value out of. Oh my God.
Oh my God. Yep. So what happens is they lean into, well, if I impress the hell out of them with my knowledge. And so here's the rule. You always keep the connection with the room over content. If you keep the connection, which is get curious, like I want to know. So I talk to them. Like if I get into a room and in the beginning was ever nervous or felt like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm going to talk about, I started asking them questions. What do you want to learn about with money? What do you want? I would do quizzes. I'd get them engaged. So we'd be in a conversation, because then I can go free. As you know, I got an on switch, no off switch. So then I could go free, and I got to know them. What did they want? Debt? Did they want to learn to make money? Like what did they want? And get curious, because then you don't have to worry about you. But the minute you lose connection and you over deliver content, they're going to sleep. Especially now. I mean, COVID has conditioned people, Max. I don't know what your like minutes are, but I say less than 12 to 30 seconds. If you can't grab somebody's attention, they're scrolling, picking somebody else. So you better get their attention darn fast, keep it fast, and keep them engaged as long as you can.
100%.
This is a very, very different strategy that I had to learn in 2020 to stay alive before I was about, when 29 stages canceled. But I can tell you, taking the stage is something I love to teach people. Their offer and how to create that curious. I create a very curious PowerPoint, very, very few PowerPoints, maybe 8 to 10 in an hour. I do not do a lot because I need to maintain a connection with the audience. And that's what helps me sell. They fall in love with me because I connect and they know I'm hearing them. I'm listening to them. I'm not pouring 100 slides in an hour of a whole bunch of content. They're not going to consume in an hour anyway. It's just going to be and don't impress them because that you're super smart. You're already super smart. Impress them because you're connected and you care. You're going to win bigger. And that overeducating, you're going to lose. Because I'm sure like when you did your event in February, here's what people who don't have a planned offer. It's like, hey, if you're interested, just come talk to us. It's like, was that a close? Did you just ask people for money? Like, if you're interested, that just opened up. Everybody's going to expect to chat. Everybody's going to expect to buy Max a beer and have a chat with you, not a sales presentation.
Not to actually pay money and move forward.
Yeah. So you have to really set it psychologically.
On one end of the spectrum, you have the person who's saying like, and if you want to learn more, if you want my help to implement all of these strategies, come book a call, right? On the other side of that, what is the template that is the money template or the success template that, depending on your offer, is the call to action at the end? Is it QR code? Is it you actually share the price? Like if you can share with us what that, or just one variation. I'm sure there's 70 million different ways to actually close, right? But
look in my Millionaire Maker book. So I created this thing called the gap analysis in chapter 2. So a gap analysis basically looks like this. It's a little grid. Okay. Right. So, and I always tell people, whether you're in marketing, whether you're in health, whether you're in anything, so what I use the gap for, and this is like literally, I don't care where I'm closing. So it became a just stock and block. Where are you financially? What do you want? I call it baseline freedom day. And my job is to help you with income and assets and reduce your tax. So I have the plan, but I need to know where you are and what you want. You can use that in anything. If you're a health coach, you can say, well, what's your baseline for your health? Right? Even send them out and get blood tests if you want to get that scientific about it. And then say, well, what do you want? Then in the middle is why you're necessary. That's your sale. I'm necessary because I'm going to increase your income, reduce your assets, totally change your tax structure, but I need to know where you are. So basically in a room, I don't care if thousands of people with Richard and Veronica Tan, Richard Branson, Trump, Tony Robbins, care who it was. I was always the token woman salesperson. And they're like, why do you do so well? And I said, because I talk to them. I say, audience, where are you? What do you want? And then I tell them every reason why I'm their plan. And then I say, if you want to work with me, this is how you work. And it's not negotiable. We have a blueprint. You're going to walk the blueprint. You're going to right now walk to the back of the room. You're going to get out a credit card and you're going to pay $1,000 or $1,500, whatever it was. And then we're going to begin the game. And I'm going to give you books. And this is how we're going to start. So now I'm going to start talking to you like you've bought. I literally in the middle of my would transition them to speak to them in very NLP, it's all NLP linguistics, as if you've bought. So when you're my client, and then I change to that language pattern, I say, so when you figure out your gap, right? And I have a one-on-one person, so I don't offer free. I say I have a one-on-one person who's going to verify your gap analysis. Then from there, we'll decide where's your best solution. But I can help in all these areas. And how many of you, and then I've just pain, problem. I'm like, we have all those problems. And go to that right now. And I'm not shy about it. If you want to work with me, this is how we work. This is our strategy. And I'm very direct. And it was that no filter, just very open. And at the end, I don't go backwards to a green room and hide, which drove all my speaker friends crazy. I walk through the audience, I take pictures, I hug them, I sign audio
hands and kiss babies.
Yeah, and I make myself amazingly available. So I say those things, and some people listening say she's crazy, and it's like, and I'm not. I mean, I followed a lot of Bob Proctor's strategy of being amazingly available, amazingly accessible, friendly. I don't put on, an ad. Some people just think they're all that, and they go to the green room and they hide and they're never available. It's like, I don't want to be that person. I want you to know if I got you, and you feel it when, and you feel great about paying for the next step. But I'm very clear about the next step. I don't shy away from the next step. I actually bring it in right in the beginning. I start my first line on every stage, no matter what, is how many of you want to be a millionaire? And I always hold my prop. Always. How many of you want this? Of course, they say yes, or I already am. And then I ask, so where's your problems? And I find out all their gaps. And then I speak to their problems, and I ask them for their next sale, and I move them to the back of the room. And we just continue a relationship. So I don't know if that helps people, but those are critical. It's critical that you're really clear where you're taking your client on this journey.
That's amazing.
Now, I don't want just money. I want them on a journey that this is your next step. This is your next step. And this is how you'll become a millionaire. And if you don't follow those steps, good luck and stay broke.
Yeah. I mean, I always talk with clients and say, look, at the end of the day, no matter what your product or service is, you're selling a transformation, right? You're selling a journey. They're here. They need to get to here. They want to get to here. And how are they going to do that? Well, you're going to help them. Your product, your service, your course, your mastermind, your car, whatever it is, it's going to help you get there. This is amazing. This is a masterclass in of itself of these kind of sales events. So we know, first things first, go to someone who's already doing it and offer to add more people to the room. It doesn't have to be 500. It could be 10 or 20.
Right. And I've had other people add now at this level, like they'll come and they will be a sponsor. They'll add value. So yes, add people's number one, but if they can just add some value, then that's the other way to get on the stage.
Got it. So number one, add value. Number two, curiosity is the whole MO of the whole presentation. And then three is the gap analysis. And the earlier you introduce the gap analysis, and the earlier you kind of almost like break the third wall, you almost just kind of say like, hey, like, I'm here to sell you something. And if you want that, go to the back. But even if you don't, to keep listening, because I'm going to talk to you like you are a client. So they already feel like they're a client. You're almost like subconsciously telling them that they're a client. So it's like, oh yeah, I'm a client, but I forgot to go to the back and pay for this thing. That's like the three kind of core pillars or main steps of getting on the circuit and printing money this way.
Well, because like I know, Max, there's no one who takes the stage that doesn't have an agenda. And if they do, then they're just talking because they need to hear themselves talk. Like I have an agenda to change lives, right? Yeah. My agenda is to help people. So I don't have time to mess around with storytelling, drama, anything. You want to know why I'm here. I'm not going to have you wait 60 minutes to learn at the end for your 2 minutes, and then I'm going to jam in a close. This is how you work. I figure out your gaps. Once I identify your gaps, then your blueprint of your plan arrives from your gaps, not some stock and block. Everybody gets the 10 stock, thing. Not everybody gets the 10 things, because some of you are in debt. Some of you have a lot of money. Some of you overpay taxes. So I'm going to figure out where you are. You're going to start where you are, and then you're going to move to the goal, because I've been blessed to know how to get you there very, very quickly, 3 to 5 years. So if you're interested, we'll work together. So now let's talk about how we're going to work. And then I go right into like they are. Like, so when you're a client, you do this. And when you're a client, you do this. And when you're a client, can you imagine if you do that? Can you imagine if you did that move? Can you imagine if you bought Bitcoin in your Roth IRA at 2,000 and 4,000, sold it at 87,000, did it again and again and again? You were a millionaire in your Roth in 3 years. People go, how do you do that? So I throw in strategies. It's called chaos theory. So I throw in strategies that just solve problems, and shows evidence and evidence and evidence to be like, I want all of those things. It's like, perfect, let's go.
Yeah, let's go, literally.
But you have it nailed. And I think even if you're in marketing, if you're health, like I said, I don't care what you're in. Even if you're doing artistry. Like if you're an art, okay, what's your baseline of what you have, or even jewelry? Like, what do you want? Where are you at? What you want are the two simplest questions in the world. And then you, as you're selling, need to be the answer to where they are and what they want. You need to be the answer, and you need to tell them why clearly you're the answer without lots of drama and stories.
I love this framework.
I mean, stories,
sales.
Stories to examples, but not stories of yourself. Nothing is more irritating than a cathartic speaker who's doing their own therapy in front of the room. Because then when I did that, and when I got divorced, and when I did bankruptcy, who gives a shit? Like, I don't care about your stories. How are you going to help me?
Yeah, everyone's selfish. That's the best lesson. I think you can use this framework on a landing page, even in like a 60-second ad. It's like, if you are here and want to get here, here's how I did it, and I can teach you how to do it. Or if you're here and want to get to here, here's 17 different strategies. Chaos, there's 17 different strategies. If you even want to learn one of these, click below or whatever. That framework's amazing. But as much of these conversations are about marketing, all my conversations are also about entrepreneurship, because I'm an entrepreneur, and pretty much everyone that comes on the pod is an entrepreneur. And really all my friends actually these days are entrepreneurs. So there's two parts to every business, right? There's how do you get customers, and then how do you fulfill whatever it is that you've sold them. We spend a lot of time talking about how you are getting customers and how a lot of the OGs in the industry have gotten customers. Let's talk about how you fulfill for those customers. Like what, the content you just gave, the great example of the crypto Roth IRA thing, what is the core fundamentals of the Millionaire Maker mastermind or mindset or book or whatever? Like, what is the actual thing that you're selling? So
it's filling in the gap of what their plan is to become a millionaire. So Integrated Wealth Systems is the brand name. So I'll just give you, like, again, trademark. People are all worried about trademarks and patents and copyright. So my original company in 2000 was called Live Out Loud. Like I'd heard the saying, I knew I wanted to name my company that, and I knew from the Rich Dad Poor Dad brand what was missing from my clients, because I was teaching cash flow. So when you teach a cash flow game, was 100% of the first statement they would say when they're done playing the game. How do I put this in my life? Not why, not what, how. So I knew when I did this, I wanted to be the how-to girl. I want to glue it together. I want to show them that just because you get an entity and a trust and corporate structure, and you might think you have a good CPA, are you sure it's all done right? Are you sure when you have a life insurance policy, it's the right policy for that trust? Like, who's the glue? Who's quarterbacking the middle of all these financial experts? So I designed a very distinct model to integrate. But to the Live Out Loud point, just to finish that, Oprah started saying Live Out Loud as a saying. And then there's a Christian song. Stephen Curtis Chapman wrote Live Out Loud. Then a country singer wrote it. Then a rap. So, it got so blown out. You could imagine from marketing SEO, Max, my SEO was blown. I was so far down on pages, Live Out Loud, me? Financial, that's what they're looking for, music and all this other stuff. I'm like, so we changed the brand to Integrated Wealth, because that's what we do. We integrate your wealth. So what it's like to become that is what I call living corporate life. So here's my I have all these little Loralisms that I say. Companies make money, individuals get taxed. So if you are personally an entrepreneur making money as a sole proprietor, you've just put yourself in prison from the tax standpoint, because you can only do 13 to 33 deductions. If you are incorporated, and this is all over the world, they're just named different things. In the US, you're an LLC, limited partnership, S Corp, C Corp, or whatever you and your family need. This isn't you go to LegalZoom and click, cheap buttons. Yeah. This is sitting with my team. So what I did is I surrounded myself with the experts in corporate structure, corporate compliance, which is the paperwork nobody likes to do. The huge piece of that. Bookkeepers, accountants, tax strategists, and I bring them together. And I said, if you want to be on this team, you have to integrate, which means life insurance people and alternative financial planners and trust lawyers and trust and estate, whoever you are, you will talk through, and I will facilitate the calls, but we will talk to the client on their behalf what they want. So it's a very family, generational wealth. What do you and your family want? And then I decide which experts go first, because you can't consume them all at once. It's too much for the client. So I say, okay, given who you are and what you've done to yourself, here's number 1, 2, and 3 you have to go to. As soon as you're done with those 3 meetings with those 3 experts, come back to me. We'll reassess and integrate. Then I'll pay you the next 3 people. I'll give you the next 3 people. So I really am facilitating meeting the team from heaven. It is the best team. And I took 20 some years to assemble them, which is where we stand. and we're great at tax, great at corporate structure, but fixing people from this tax burden. I mean, if you're a W-2, like, which is employed, if you're an employed person by getting a job, you better have some hustles, side hustles, real estate. You need to, if you don't have corporate structure in America, it's 81 to 83,000 pages of tax code, which means personally, like I don't own anything, Max. I make $42,000. I'm a single mom of a 17-year-old daughter. I have no phone, no car, no home. I have very few clothes because this is all wardrobe for my brand of the Millionaire. You see, like, we're going to teach you to own nothing but control it all through corporate life and corporate structures. And welcome to the blueprint. That wasn't that hard to find. Like, this stuff's been going on over 200 years. 200 years corporations have been around. It started in UK with the ships. I mean, Christopher Columbus didn't just come over because he's just a handy dandy little entrepreneur. He was hired by a C Corp, a version of a C Corp in UK. And if he came across, then no one could sue the company because all the people would die and the capital, they would just write it all off, including the deaths. Whoops. And they shut the company down. They opened another one and send another ship. Finally, somebody made it. Like, this stuff's been like, and this is what I've done. I have studied the history of money and what made this and why does it make it so hard? Because becoming an employee is not your way to fast financial freedom. I mean, it's helpful for some people, but it's not the strategy.
I had that thought recently. I was watching the show on Hulu, Shogun, and that person, I don't know if you've seen the show, but they sent someone from Portugal or the UK to Japan to set up trade. And I was like, man, part of it's based on a book, and the book is based on a true story. And part of that company from whatever it was, they're like 600 years ago or whenever it was.
Yeah.
Forgive me for not knowing the history. Like, part of that company still exists in Japan today. I'm like, literally everything we see, everything our eyes lay on was because of an entrepreneur and a business and a corporation who tried to make something that either A, helped people, or B, either didn't help people and they just wanted to make money. But net, the entrepreneur just wanted to make money. Like, every house that you lay eye on, the cars, the road, some company was hired by the government because they said, oh, I guess the government will pay me $100,000 to pave this road. Like, everything is done by the corporations. I love that example of, like, Christopher Columbus didn't just come here. And yeah, damn.
And great, but he gets all the kudos. I mean, but the company name never came forward. But this, when you really study it, companies have been around for a very long time. And what's interesting is because we're so pushed, which I am a huge fan of higher education. I mean, I have a master's degree. My son has a master's. My daughter's going to get one. Like, we love the higher education stuff, and they're all entrepreneurs. Like, my son has only been employed since last August, and he's like, Mom, I said, I don't use this, I told you so, but it's like, I know, because you have so much freedom as an entrepreneur and you have an unlimited upside. There's no fixed income. You get to make as much as you want. You can, using marketing, I can turn up the dial of my ads. I can go from 10,000, which is a low ad spend a month, or I can go to 20,000. Yep. If I want to really turn up the sales and really turn up the dial, then I spend more on ads now, on social media, or engagements like this. Like, I do a lot of engagements. So similar model than the stage model, but now I do it this way. But I'll tell you the biggest pattern that I had to learn, being a stage speaker, and how you do that curiosity, chaos, and that kind of model, it doesn't work here. Like, I mean, I remember March 7th, 2020, coming home, looking at Steve, behind our camera on my side, saying, what are we going to do? Like, we are on ground zero. We have no stages, just canceled 29. There's no TV. No, we're not traveling anywhere. This little device here called the computer and Zoom has not been my friend. And I don't even know how to talk to it. And I don't know how any human on the other side is going to respond to me. So I actually had to hire somebody to do a whole nother level of, I'm going to call it like linguistics. Like, how do you do that same thing I had a gift to do on stage here? And that took most of 2020. That was a big language, speaking, offers, all of it transition, huge transition for me. And I hated it. I hated every minute transition. So all of you who, used to be in one way and now you have to change, just surrender. You're going to have to do it. So just get over there as fast as you can.
I was going to ask you about the transition from flying around multiple cities in a day in person. There's some juju, there's some, as my mom would say, juju, you know, to the room and the in-person connection that Zoom or anything can never, even VR can never replicate. But
Ever.
selfishly, I know we have not a lot of time left. I know you have like 40 million books and you have a million different strategies across all of those books about all the things that you just said, you know, living like a corporation, lowering your taxes, right? Taking advantage of all of these things that are easily attainable if you just know who to speak to, like you and your team.
Yeah.
You know, can you give, like selfishly, can you give me or the people listening like 1, 2 low-hanging fruit? Like what are like the easiest examples of some of the stuff that you're talking about? Or if not, if you don't want to answer that, we can just go to the other question about, you know, how did you transition? But I think that will also give people a better understanding of
these
these strategies.
Main things are corporate life, but again, you're going to have to talk to one of our experts because especially if you're in California. I'll just say if you're in California, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, you're in the roughest tax states. You know, I was married to a Canadian for a very long time. Actually, just got divorced from him. I know Canadian law, and I took this work to every continent but Antarctica, and I share that principles work everywhere. But I mean, I'm aggressive. So at 18 years old, like when my son turned 18, my daughter will be 18 this October, they will join. I only had him join a couple companies and he got his own. And now he's into over 10 of mine and has his own. So I move those kids in quickly. I orient them to the life I've built, the assets that we own. We own a lot of apartments. We own a lot of doors. We own a cannabis farm. I own a Broadway play. So very quickly, family, if anything happens to me, you're going to have to run the ranch. And the ranch has been built pretty nicely. So I get the kids, and if they're not interested, that's fine. But you got to get the kids involved early. So as young as you can, as fast as you can, you got to get corporate structure in your country, like whatever country. And then we have a lot of people, Max, which people don't know this strategy, and everybody thinks they have to move to Puerto Rico to have no tax.
I've heard that so many times.
You don't have to move to Puerto Rico and have tax lawyers and LLPs and all these FLPs and all this complicated structure. The way we do it is very simple. It's either S Corp, C Corps, LLC, sometimes a family limited partnership. We don't use them as much.
Yeah.
They're hard to have lawyers. You don't need lawyers in our strategy. You just need really good tax strategy. So living that whole corporate life. And then the biggest behavior I would say to most people is, even if you have, say, your LLC and your S or whatever you have set up, use it. Like, why are you paying bills? Your phone, your cars, your home office, even like I said, any wardrobe, anything marketing related for you, Max, any technology, any cameras, all of that is deductible. All of it should be paid through your company. So having company credit cards and personal credit cards, keep it clean, separate. And then really, you know, like I have right now about 8 of the top tax strategists, and they're not big firms. They're boutique, very niche. For very, yep. Because all the big firms typically have a stock formula. Everybody gets the same darn formula. So you and I go to the same big firm, you and I will look same, but you and I aren't the same, right? And you know, and we have different goals. So it's very custom. But it's living corporate structure and paying properly so you can take the deduction legally without triggering an audit. I see those as the biggest. And then the biggest one over that is, as you make money, put your money away, meaning invest it. Figure out if you like real estate or cryptocurrencies. I use a Roth at all times. When my kids were 0, people love that. This is my Make Your Kids Millionaires book. When they were 0, they were employed by day 1 of their life. They had a Roth IRA. It was funded fully. And you can imagine compounding that for 20 years of each of my kids' lives. I mean, just if all you did for your kid was fund their Roth IRA fully by working for your company from 0 to 20, you make your kid a millionaire. One strategy. That's all you have to do. But you have to fund it every year religiously, and they have to work for the company to get the money. So, I mean, I would say it's not difficult. It's just different, because what most people are probably telling people like you, Max, is, oh, go get a 529 and save. They don't tell you your kid may not want to go to school, and then you can't use those 529 funds because it's for school. Yeah. So then how do you burn that? How do you, so then what you have to do is pull it out and pay a bunch of fees. Well, why'd you even put it in there in the first place? So that's the micro. When I say how, I just want to give a whole bunch of examples of like which credit cards do you use, which insurance do you use, which like down to how is where people screwed up in their plan, because they get the high level strategy, and you can find people who do random stuff all over the internet, but who's going to glue it together so you feel like, I got a plan. It's going to work for me.
Yeah. The first thing I ever did when I started making money was put it in a Roth IRA. and I max it out every year. I've maxed it out every year since. And I told my financial advisor, I said, hey, look, if I could just compound at like 6 or 7%, not 5 in market rate, but if I could just compound at 6 or 7%, by the time I'm 60, I'm killing it. So whatever the strategies are that we need to buy and trade, whatever it is to consistently make 6 or 7, and gratefully and luckily, we've been able to beat that a lot every year since. But the compounding nature of it is absolutely amazing. The point to having different credit cards and like expensing wardrobe and cars and phone and everything else, is there a gray area? And I asked this for a very specific reason, because one of my friends is an entrepreneur. He makes about $1 million a year, and he goes to Europe every summer with his wife for a month, and he expenses the entire trip. Yeah, I think he meets like one client. He just happens to have like one client. Not even really a client. His business doesn't have clients, but he meets like one business person in Europe in the whole month, but then he expenses the entire trip. And I mean, it's like $150,000 trip, $100,000 trip. Like that's like his big thing that he does every year. Like there's got to be gray areas with some of this stuff, right? Or is that?
For that, it's gray. I mean, unless he's really running corporate compliance, which means, one day or a few days has to be a shareholder meeting. You should be looking. I always tell clients, whether they have bought real estate or not, you need to have, and there is an actual IRS like tax guideline of what you need to do. So I always, when I go out, like I'm intentionally in a wine business, I'm in a home care business, I'm in skincare. So I intentionally visit the places.
Wow.
that is also associated to things that I'm doing. So it legitimizes it. But if you're really going and having one client meeting one day and really not doing any other business, I mean, you have to legitimately say every day, or at least 3/4 to 80% of that trip, 90, has some business association to it. He could get audited hard for that. That would be a rough one to get by. But again, I know how in a 1 hour conversation, I know how to help him probably legitimize that whole thing. Because you can legitimize it. Like I do it. I mean, part of like me taking my kids on the road with me is because they're employed with the company. They got to come along. They're employees. And then there's employee benefit, packages. There's employee celebrations. There's employee, there's also I mean, there's a lot of things you can use. And then while they're gone, I don't know if he's doing this, it's called the Augusta rule. He should be renting his house out. Well, he can rent to himself for 14 days, but he should be renting his house or doing some version of that. So he shows that he is not domestically there. That even legitimizes it more. So there's more to the strategy. Yes, it's doable. Without the right paperwork and strategy, you could get killed. And that's what the problem that most people have with money, Max, is they hear little crumbs, but they don't know how to put together the plan. So they have the crumbs, but the crumbs are right. Where's the glue and the connectivity of the plan? So that's really what I do, is I make sure there's some solidification, because I can do that as an educator, not an advisor, all day long.
And is your program the teaching of this, or like you said, you have like 8 amazing tax, corporate finance specialists, or one of them an accountant, and the idea is like a client comes on and they ditch their existing accountant and they work with your accountant, right? Because that's what you would want. Like you want someone that helps you implement the strategy, but then also make sure that when you're actually filing this stuff with the government,
they do it. They do it all. They sign on it, and they talk to the IRS or the 3-letter agency if you ever talk to. So that's 8 in one category. I have 28 categories of experts. So I have tax, corporate compliance, I have trust, I have actually corporate structure. That's different. Like, should you have a C or an S or N, and how do you do that? And they have to talk to the tax team. You need a bookkeeper that knows how to code all that once I teach them how to do it. We have experts, we have funding experts. I teach how to raise capital. I teach sales. I teach marketing. So, I mean, we have 28 content experts in different sectors, and then they're deep. So in tax, we have to have them deep. My son's becoming that tax strategist, because that'll be the takeover of the firm.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a pretty deeply held enterprise. So it's not hard, like Grant says, to make those kind of numbers, but you're not making it on one product. That's why I think you're making it on, they're probably buying this apartment here or this, like collectively all of the things. And I know Grant brings in a team, for example, that will set up corporate structure, and he'll get a % of that. So, collectively, there's lots of ways that when we say there's a big number, like an OG says there's big numbers, it's a collective revenue number. And it doesn't mean it's collected, it's been booked. How much of
I learned so much.
You can book, but it's not collected. So I guess
and you said the ladder, as I call it, right? Like someone might buy the $1,500 thing, quickly realize like, this is amazing, I want more, or they might quickly realize like, this isn't enough. Like they just get enough proof to buy the 10,000. And then the certain amount of the people that buy the 10,000 will then eventually convert to the 50K a year, 500K a year mastermind.
No one should charge.
Yeah.
But I charged 100 with Bob Proctor for a year, and I don't know, it just was weird. I don't even call mine a program. I call it a one-time lifetime membership. Because once you learn it and you're living it, I can't take it away from you. I've just taught you every strategy, every hack in the world. And I call hacks high-level strategies, not like you're cheating something. That's the reason I don't like that word. But every strategy will get laid out for you completely. Then it's up to you to continue to execute. That's why I'm not necessary all the time. I'm necessary for about the first year or two. Then people say, well, why are they around for 15 years when they still like hang out with you and like you? Because sometimes they'll become my partner and we'll end up doing a lot of stuff together. Now I have partners who we own cannabis together. We own the Broadway play is written by one of my clients, and I invested a bunch of money with her. She invested a bunch of money with me. Like, you become a different relationship once you want to jam and you want to really grow.
Last question, how do you keep track of all of these different deals and doors and marijuana farms and wine and real estate and
this little team right over here? Bookkeepers, my own bookkeepers, my own tax strategist, and internal operation team.
But even just like your time managing across all these different things, you have a team that just handles all that for you. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I handle a lot. I mean, I just know how to sequence, like, what's the most important thing that needs my time? And I'm really clear to delegate to can do things better. Like, I'm a great entrepreneur. I'm a horrible manager. And all of you need to know your goods and like, you need to know your top strengths. Like, day-to-day rigorous SOP management, I can do it. I don't like it. So I have people here that are way better at that and do it. So I'll guide, I'll oversee, but I'm not in it every day. I'm not going to take 8 hours of my day. I'm just going to delegate it so it'll get done. And then I'm always staying at very high level of entrepreneurial thinking. I love it. What you do. So much. And as we continue our relationship, like just speaking like for a minute or so to the CEOs and the high level, anybody who's making 75,000 or more, I mean, you have tax problems. If you're making 100, 200, and the bigger problems there is usually tax, lack of corporate structure. And then you're just using any financial planner because it's convenient. And you're not really paying attention to how much you don't have to overpay in taxes. Like, even overpaying 25, 30,000 a year in taxes times 10, you just blew in my opinion, because of the compounding, as you know, Max,
and the interest.
You just blew $1 million. Why didn't you pay yourself that by doing a little strategy and taking a little time to learn? And I'm not going to do it for you. I'm going to teach you. And that way, again, I'm the teacher to fish. So you are good for a lifetime. And always you can come back if you say, I forgot, or I don't know. Like, I never turn people 20 years from later calling me and say, hey, I forgot that thing you told me. How do I do that again? Just use a great team.
That.
Yeah.
I love that. Wrapping up here, where can people find you if they are like, wow, I have a tax issue. I make over 100, 200K a year and I need to speak to you. Where can people go find you and get in touch?
So askloral.com/Max. We made it super easy for people. And because they're going, I'm actually going to give them, there's a QR code for a bunch of my free books. So you're going to get my Millionaire Maker. Consume this hugely, all of you. They're all ebook copies. I'm going to give you 2 tickets to an event that I do once a month that teaches you. It's like hours of this. How do you do? It's the how-to of it. So you can kind of, again, get better learning. And what else is on there? Oh, link to my podcast, YouTube channel, my little goodies. So it's just a whole bunch of free goodies from all of the people that are listening to this. So it's Ask Loral, AskLoral, spell my name right, LORAL.com/Max.
I didn't even know you did that, but now that I know, we will certainly link that in the show notes for anyone that is interested and has tax issues or just wants to pay less in taxes. Hell, who doesn't want that? Thank you so much.
And the other 2 things is if you want to learn to invest better, to have someone review your investments, and more importantly, if you want to learn how to do generational wealth and teach your kids have got to learn this stuff. Huge piece. So
yeah, I
appreciate it, Max. It's been, we could talk forever.
We absolutely could. Got to keep in the family. I love that line. But yes, thank you for coming on and sharing your wealth of knowledge in all different disciplines with me and with everyone listening. We'll speak to you soon. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Marketing Max show. It takes me and my team hours to produce it every single week, but it only takes you 15 seconds to hit that share button and text it to a friend, drop it in a Slack group, or share it on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or any of your favorite social platforms. I appreciate you taking the time to check out my content. Have an awesome day.